Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. So once again today I'll be diving into your comments for today's topic, and where we did a lore video last time, I thought today would be fun to go a bit more on the opinion side. So DMB Lan asks, for you personally, what one small/minor piece of tech, lore, character, etc. do you miss the most after the split between Legends and canon that hasn't been reintroduced in some way? Why? Great question, because I like it so much and because I enjoy the comparisons between Star Wars Legends and canon. I will do one of each. One piece of technology, one piece of lore, one character. Well, I'm going to try to keep it to one, but I'm going to fail immediately because we're starting with characters. Star Wars Legends had so many fun characters, which really became as much a part of Star Wars to me as the main characters. Choosing one is nearly impossible. I loved Jaina and Jacen because some of my first Star Wars novels were the Young Jedi Knights books. They were starring Jaina Jacen and their friends like Tenel Ka and Lobaka, and I thought it was really cool to see them move all the way from childhood, and not just in the Young Jedi Knights, but books like the Corellian trilogy or the Thrawn trilogy, even when they're babies, all the way through the Yuuzhan Vong War and beyond. The thing is, I think answering with Jaina and Jacen or Ben Skywalker or even Mara is sort of against what this question is intending to ask, so I'm going to keep it to important but more minor characters. And I've got two here. The first is Talon Karrde. Talon Karrde first appears in the Thrawn trilogy, but he really is one of those characters which found his way throughout much of Star Wars Legends. And the cool thing is, Talon Karrde could easily be reintroduced into Star Wars canon without any sort of difficulty. So, in both Legends and canon, after the death of Jabba the Hutt, there was a power vacuum in the criminal underworld, and in Legends, one of the main characters who stepped in and would actually secure significant power was Talon Karrde. It's quite interesting because initially Talon Karrde is almost like the opposite of Han Solo. At the beginning of the Thrawn trilogy, he's actually an antagonist, or at least a quasi-antagonist. He has a few run-ins with Luke Skywalker, but unlike Han Solo, he's very honest, with both characters sort of having a heart of gold at the end, and Talon Karrde sort of maintains the parallel Solo storyline. He's almost like Han Solo had he never met Princess Leia. So instead of joining the New Republic and becoming a general, Talon Karrde does help out frequently, for example, at the Battle of Bilbringi, but he develops his own smuggling and information organization, which becomes very powerful throughout the galaxy. So whether in the Bantam era or the Del Rey era, if a Star Wars story randomly needed somebody to point the characters in the right direction, or have knowledge of some esoteric lore or bit of information like the Ka Maz document, it was a pretty safe bet you might be seeing Talon Karrde. The other thing about Talon Karrde is he was the first employer of Mara Jade, after the Emperor anyway. Talon Karrde initially started off very neutral, but as time went on, he became almost fully allied with the good guys. More briefly, another character I'd like to see brought into Star Wars Legends is Garm Bel Iblis. This is another Thrawn trilogy character, but if you've played The Force Unleashed, you've also seen Garm Bel Iblis there. He was honestly a sort of Saw Gerrera type. He was probably more militant than Mon Mothma, but really the two were just different, and they had differing views on how the Rebel line should operate and how it should face off against the Empire. Obviously, Mon Mothma ascended to power as Chancellor of the New Republic, so Garm Bel Iblis continued to sort of fight on his own way until he's brought back into the fold during the Thrawn Crisis, where he serves as a very talented military commander, especially at times when the New Republic is lacking the expertise of Admiral Akbar. Garm Bel Iblis is technically canon. He's still a Corellian senator. Whether we'll get more about his rebel backstory, it's hard to say. All right, those were characters. Let's move on to technology next. And for this one, I'm actually going not with a new piece of technology, but with a technology which was expanded in Star Wars Legends and which I'd like to see more prominent in canon. That is interdiction. Now, obviously, interdiction Star Destroyers exist. I believe in the Thrawn trilogy, the new canon Thrawn trilogy, we hear about the Grisks books using large gravitational bodies to interdict hyperspace lanes, but in Star Wars Legends, felt like interdiction was used in more interesting ways, and I've got 3 examples here. First of all, interdiction was more commonly an important tactical aspect of battles. There have been cases in canon where an interdictor needs to be destroyed. It's not as common as Legends, but we're also missing some of the advanced tactics which interdiction offered. For example, Grand Admiral Thrawn used interdictors to help make precise hyperspace jumps. In the X-Wing series, we see interdictors standing by to prevent a fleet from jumping into a trap if a signal isn't sent. But there were also more interesting bits of offshoot technology. One example would be interdiction buoys or interdiction mines. They're exactly like they sound. Unlike a ship-based interdiction system, which can be turned on and off, you drop an interdiction mine and it's active for a period of time. The Yuuzhan Vong had Dovin basils, which could also perform a similar function. But there were also counters to interdiction. For example, the hyperwave inertial momentum sustainer, the HIMS, allowed ships to preserve some of their hyperspace velocity while entering an interdicted zone, basically punching deep into the gravity well. Then you see just advanced exotic technology like Centerpoint Station, which could create a system-wide interdiction field, and I'd like to see more with that in Star Wars canon. So the final thing is, what lore would I like to see brought into Star Wars canon? And this is a case where the lore I like for this answer doesn't really impact the story very much. It's just something I personally find interesting, and that's more detail about the large ships within the Imperial Navy. Now, we have gotten a bit of this mostly through, I'm going to call them quasi-canonical sources, like the RPG source books, which seem as much Legends as canon. But Legends really established many different classes of very large Imperial ships. I'm talking things larger than a Star Destroyer, battle cruisers, super Star Destroyers, and the like. To be clear, I think Star Wars Legends had too many super weapons, and I don't think even the most hardcore Legends fan would deny that, but I really appreciated that the Empire had several different super Star Destroyer variants, like the Vengeance, the Assertor. Now, again, these have kind of been quasi-reintroduced, but they don't really fit within the lore very well, especially given what we know from books like Star Wars Aftermath, which have outright stated how many SSDs the Empire had. Same with battlecruisers. I find battlecruisers really interesting because they were rare, but not completely dominating like an Executor, for example. Again, in Star Wars Legends, many different battlecruiser types, from the Allegiance to the Praetor to several others, and I'd like to see Star Wars Legends not just reintroduce these ships formally, but figure out how they work within the new Imperial Navy, and maybe even create several other classes. But I hope that answers your question. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bit of a time to reminisce and ramble about things that I'd like changed and reintroduced. There are so many characters, especially in Star Wars Legends and storylines, whether big like Jaina and Jason, as I mentioned, or Kyle Katarn, or Corran Horn, or smaller like Winter. Winter's another great character who I think would fit perfectly in the Star Wars canon. But anyway, I hope you guys will let me know your thoughts on these questions, and I'll see you soon. Be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.